You'll regret this.
Don't you dare touch me!
The divorce papers hit my chest before the wine did. Red splashed across my shirt, and my father-in-law pointed at me in front of 300 guests and said, "Look at him, a stray dog in a borrowed suit. This is the man my daughter wasted 3 years on?" Then my wife looked me in the eyes, shaking so hard she could barely breathe, and whispered, "Daniel, please sign it before he destroys us all." If stories like this hit something deep in you, subscribe, like the video, and tell me where you're watching from before we begin. Because this night didn't just change my life, it exposed what people become when they think you're powerless. The ballroom was silent in that cruel way rich rooms get silent. Not shocked, not uncomfortable, hungry. People weren't looking at me like I was a man losing his marriage. They were looking at me like I was entertainment between champagne and dessert. My mother-in-law Vanessa sat with her diamonds glowing under the chandeliers, not even pretending to be ashamed. My sister-in-law Chloe had her phone half hidden under the table, recording. A few of the investors laughed into their sleeves, and standing beside my wife Elena was Marcus Dane. Perfect haircut, tailored tuxedo, smile like a knife. He placed one hand on Elena's lower back like he already owned her. That was the first moment that night I almost broke. Not because Richard Hart had called me worthless. He'd been calling me that for years. Not because the room believed him, because Elena didn't step away from Marcus. Richard snatched the microphone from the startled host and raised my signed guest card like evidence at a trial. This man has eaten at my table, lived under my roof, and brought shame to my family every single day since he married my daughter. No career, no name, no future. While we carried him, my daughter shrank. Our company bled, and tonight, that mistake ends. Applause, actual applause. I looked at Elena again. She wasn't proud. She wasn't relieved. She looked sick. Her makeup was flawless, but I knew her too well. I saw the pulse racing in her throat. I saw how tightly her fingers pressed around the stem of her glass. I saw one detail nobody else noticed, the bruise on her wrist. Small, half hidden, fresh. Marcus leaned closer to me with that rehearsed gentleman's smile. "Sign the papers, Daniel. Don't make this uglier." I should explain something. For 3 years I was the joke of the Hart family, the worthless son-in-law, the man who came from nowhere married Elena Hart and somehow never became anything in their eyes. At birthdays, they gave me grocery store socks, while the dogs wore imported collars. At business dinners, I was seated with assistants. At family photos, I was told to stand at the side in case they cropped for space. When guests came over, Vanessa introduced me as Elena's husband. He's figuring himself out. The servants pitied me, the drivers outranked me, and the woman I loved more than my own life was slowly being torn to pieces between me and the family name she'd been born into. Still, I stayed. That's what makes people misunderstand men like me. They think silence means weakness. Sometimes silence is just love, with nowhere safe to go. Richard slapped the divorce papers against my chest again. "You want money?" he said loudly. "Take the settlement and disappear. Marcus is making an honorable offer by marrying her after the humiliation you caused." That made the room stir. Marrying her after the humiliation I caused. So this was it. Not just a divorce, a replacement. Public, clean, efficient. Marcus took the microphone with false humility. I didn't want tonight to be about me, but because I care deeply for Elena and the future of Hart Biotech, I'm prepared to do what's necessary. Some men inherit responsibility. Some men rise to it. He looked straight at me when he said it. People smiled. A few women actually sighed. I heard Chloe murmur, "Finally." My jaw tightened. Elena's voice came out thin. "Daniel, please." 3 years of insults, and that was the one thing that hurt. Not because she wanted me gone, because she sounded terrified. I lowered my eyes to the divorce papers. My name was already printed at the bottom. Terms finalized. Fast-tracked. Prepared before I even arrived. They hadn't invited me to a gala. They'd invited me to my execution. I reached into my pocket for a pen. A few people leaned forward. Someone whispered, "Thank God." And then my phone vibrated. One message. Identity breach detected. Board requests immediate authorization. Atlas Meridian valuation crossed 80B at closing, awaiting founder confirmation. I stared at the screen for half a second, then locked it. Marcus noticed. "What is that?" he asked, amused. "A food delivery app?" The room laughed. I slipped my phone away. "Just business," I said. That made them laugh even harder. Richard stepped forward so fast the veins in his neck showed. "Don't you dare mock this family with that tone." He jabbed a finger into my chest. "Do you know what you are? You are the best thing that ever happened to Elena's enemies. She married beneath herself and became a cautionary tale. Investors looked at you and wondered whether our judgment was rotten from the inside." He turned to the crowd. "Tonight, we correct that." I could have ended it right there. I could have told them who I was. I could have watched every face in that room drain of color. But if I had, I would have missed the one truth I still didn't have. Why was Elena asking me to sign with tears in her eyes? Why was there a bruise on her wrist? And why did Marcus look less like a fiancé and more like a man standing over a hostage? So instead of signing, I looked at Elena and said quietly, "If you want this, say it to me. Not to them, to me." The room went still again. Elena opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Marcus's fingers pressed into her arm. "Say it," he murmured, smiling for the room. She flinched. Tiny movement, almost invisible. "Not to me." Vanessa stood up. "Oh, for God's sake, Elena, stop indulging this. He's making a scene because scenes are all he has." But Elena still couldn't say it. And for the first time that night, fear moved through me colder than anger. Marcus leaned toward me again. "You don't understand what kind of game you're standing in." I met his eyes. "No," I said. "I think I finally do." He smiled. That smile told me I was right. Then Richard did something I'll never forget. He snapped his fingers at the security guards and said, "If he won't sign standing up, put him on his knees." One of the guards hesitated. The other didn't. He grabbed my arm. Gasps, phones lifting higher, more hungry eyes. I heard Chloe whisper, "Oh my God, this is insane." Not because she was horrified, because she loved it. The guard shoved once. I didn't move. He shoved harder. Still nothing. Years earlier, men had tried to break me in rooms without windows. A ballroom full of parasites wasn't going to do it. The guard looked confused. I was supposed to stumble. Marcus took one step forward. "Don't force this. Sign, and I'll make sure you walk out with dignity." I laughed, not loudly, just enough. "Dignity?" I said. "From you?" That smile twitched for the first time. Elena looked at me sharply, like she wanted me to stop, like she wanted me to survive. Richard raised his hand and slapped me across the face in front of everyone. A real slap. The room inhaled. My lips split. Wine and blood mixed at the corner of my mouth. Vanessa covered her mouth too late to pretend shock. Chloe looked thrilled. Investors looked away the way cowards do when they've just witnessed something ugly they secretly agree with. Elena finally moved. "Dad, stop!" Her voice cracked so hard it cut through the room. Richard turned on her. "You stay out of this. I'm cleaning up your mess." Mess. That was what their marriage meant now. A mess to erase. I looked at Elena, and in that moment, I understood something that should have been obvious long ago. She wasn't choosing Marcus. She was trying to save me from him. The question was why? I took the papers from my chest and folded them once. "I'm not signing tonight," I said. Richard went white with rage. Marcus's voice hardened. "That would be a mistake."
No one followed
Maybe,
me except
I
one
said,
person.
but not
Evelyn
my biggest
Hart.
one.
Elena's
I put
grandmother.
the papers in my pocket,
The only one in
turned,
that family
and walked out
who had
while
ever
the room
spoken to me
exploded
like I was
behind me.
human.
I found her in the winter garden behind the ballroom, wrapped in silver light and the smell of wet roses. She moved slowly with her cane, but her eyes were sharp enough to shame kings. "You should have told her," she said. I wiped the blood from my mouth. "About what?" She studied me for a long moment. "Don't insult me, Daniel. I'm old, not blind." For 3 years, I had never confirmed anything to Evelyn, not once. But old women who have survived powerful men don't need confessions. They read the silence around you. She reached into her shawl and handed me a folded photograph. I opened it. My knees nearly gave out. It was an ultrasound, black and white, 12 weeks. A little note in Elena's handwriting on the back. I wanted to tell him on our anniversary. The world narrowed. The roses blurred. I looked up at Evelyn and heard my own voice from far away. "What is this?" Her face broke then. Not theatrically, not elegantly. The way strong people break when they're tired of carrying someone else's pain. "She lost the baby 6 months ago," Evelyn said. "After the board meeting Marcus arranged. The one where he humiliated her and threatened to destroy you if she didn't cooperate. She drove herself to the hospital alone because she didn't want you called." I stared at her. No, that was impossible. I would have known. I should have known. Evelyn's eyes filled. "She thought you were finally building something for yourself. She said if she called, you'd come running and give up whatever chance you had left to become a man this family could no longer sneer at. So she bled alone and buried it alone." The air left my lungs. Not all at once, piece by piece, like something inside me finally understood it was too late. 6 months. For 6 months, I had slept beside a woman carrying grief I didn't even know existed. For 6 months, I'd wondered why she had gone cold, why her smile never reached me, why she flinched when I touched her stomach in bed without knowing why my hand froze there. Why didn't she tell me? "Because she was angry," Evelyn said, "and because she loved you enough to be angry for being left alone." That hit harder than the slap. People talk about heartbreak like a loud thing. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's just a quiet room inside your chest where every excuse you ever made for yourself comes to die. I sat down on the stone bench because my legs stopped negotiating. Evelyn lowered herself beside me with effort. "There's more," she said. Of course there was. There's always more when a rich man smiles too easily. "Marcus bought your father-in-law's debt 3 months ago through shell companies. Heart Biotech is drowning, Daniel." Richard hit it. "Marcus offered rescue in exchange for Elena, the company, and control of their clinical patents. When she refused, he arranged rumors that you were siphoning funds. If she didn't go through with the divorce tonight, he planned to hand evidence to the board and the police. False evidence? Yes. I laughed once, but there was nothing sane in it. So she asked me to sign to save me from prison. To save you from men who don't lose politely. I closed my hand around the ultrasound until the edges bent. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't angry at the hearts. I was angry at myself. I had spent years believing I could keep my worlds separate, that I could love Elena as Daniel, not as the founder men in other countries stood up for, that I could protect her better by staying invisible. But invisibility is only noble in stories. In real life, it leaves the people you love standing alone in the line of fire. I found Elena in the greenhouse on the east side of the estate 20 minutes later. She was crying without sound, the way people cry when they've trained themselves not to be heard. When the door clicked behind me, she turned like she expected Marcus. Then she saw me, and the fight went out of her shoulders. "You shouldn't be here," she said. I held up the ultrasound. Her face drained instantly. For a second, I thought she might hate Evelyn for telling me. Then she just looked tired. "Grandma told you." I couldn't trust my voice, so I nodded. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. "I was going to tell you, then I wasn't. Then I didn't know how." I stepped closer. "Why did you do it alone?" Her laugh was small and broken. "Because I was stupid enough to still want to surprise my husband." That nearly finished me. She looked away before she continued. "You remember the anniversary dinner you missed? The one I had told myself she'd forgiven. The one I had spent in Singapore securing an acquisition that would later be worth billions. The one I had justified because I told myself there would be time later." "Yes. I had the picture in my purse that night," she said. "I sat in the restaurant for 2 hours. Then Marcus walked in with 2 board members and congratulated me on marrying a ghost." I felt sick. She swallowed. "He told me Dad had taken money. He told me the company was collapsing. He told me if I didn't convince you to disappear, he'd make sure you were blamed for everything, because poor men are easy to frame and rich families are good at survival." She pressed the heels of her hands to her eyes. "I drove home. It started on the highway." My throat closed. She kept talking because sometimes pain becomes unstoppable once it starts. "At the hospital, I kept thinking you'd burst through the door. Even after I told them not to call you, I kept thinking you'd know somehow. That husbands just know. That love knows." I couldn't breathe around the shame. "But you didn't," she whispered. "And after that, I didn't know who I was angrier at. You for being absent, or myself for still wanting you the second I heard your key in the door." I reached for her, then stopped halfway. I didn't deserve the right to comfort her just because I finally understood what I had done. "Elena." "No," she shook her head. "Don't say sorry like that fixes anything. You were never just poor, Daniel. That's what drove me insane. Poor men don't take calls at 4 in the morning in 3 languages. Poor men don't disappear for 2 days and come back with the look of someone who moved governments. I knew you were hiding something. I just kept choosing to believe it was harmless." I met her eyes. It wasn't harmless. She gave a bitter smile. "I know. Did Marcus hurt you?" Her silence answered first. Then, quietly, "Only enough to remind me he could do worse." Something cold and final settled inside me. Not rage, decision. I stepped closer until she had to look at me. "Listen to me carefully. Do not marry Marcus." A tear slid down her cheek. "You think I want to?" "Then trust me until midnight." She laughed through the tears. "Trust you? That's all I've done." She was right. That truth landed clean. So I did the only honest thing I'd done in months. I'm asking for one last chance to be the man I should have been from the start. She stared at me. What are you going to do? I thought of the message on my phone, the board, the files, the empire I had hidden so long it had started poisoning everything I touched. What I should have done before they ever laid a hand on you. The next morning, the Hart estate became a press circus. Every major outlet was there because Marcus had arranged it that way. He didn't just want Elena, he wanted witnesses. Cameras rolled as floral walls were installed, banners raised, and Hart Biotech executives arrived looking pale and desperate. The story being sold was elegant. Beloved heiress turns the page. Strategic alliance saves legacy company. Troubled marriage quietly dissolved. By noon, my face was already trending online. Worthless son-in-law refuses to sign. Pathetic husband crashes gala. Speculation spread like gasoline. By 1 o'clock, I arrived at the estate gates in the same black sedan I'd used for years. The guards blocked me. One of them recognized me and looked embarrassed. "Sir, I was told you were not allowed in." I nodded. "Tell Elena I'm here." He hesitated. "Mr. Dane gave direct orders." I looked past him at the crowd inside. "Then tell Marcus." He did. Marcus came out 5 minutes later wearing a smile designed for cameras. He stopped a few feet away so the microphones could catch everything. "You really do enjoy humiliation," he said. I glanced at the cameras. "You arranged all this for me?" The reporters laughed. Marcus leaned in. "I arranged it for the future. You just insisted on being part of the funeral." Then he raised his voice for the press. "Daniel, if you're here to bless Elena's new beginning, that's mature of you. If you're here to make another scene, please remember some of us actually care about protecting her." Protecting her. I almost admired the precision of the lie. Richard appeared behind him, jaw clenched, eyes sleepless. Vanessa floated at his side. Chloe looked excited enough to glow. Elena walked out last. White suit, no smile, no engagement ring. Marcus noticed I saw that and immediately took her hand. She didn't pull away. For a second, doubt cut through me. What if I was too late? What if money and truth and proof meant nothing after all the damage? Marcus turned to the reporters. "I think it would be healthiest for everyone if Daniel gave Elena the peace he has denied her." He held out a pen. Same trap, bigger audience. I took the pen. Gasps, camera shutters. Elena's eyes locked on mine. They were asking the only question that mattered. Is this real? I flipped open the folder Marcus handed me. Inside were the revised divorce papers and a confidentiality clause designed to bury me. I signed the first page. A wave of murmurs spread. Vanessa exhaled in relief. Chloe grinned. Richard looked almost emotional. Marcus's shoulders loosened by a fraction. Then I signed the second page. On the third page, I stopped. Marcus's smile returned. "Go on." I looked up at him. No. His expression froze. I set the pen down, closed the folder, and handed it back. "You were right about one thing," I said. "This is a funeral." The first black convoy rolled through the gates behind me, then another, then another. Not flashy sports cars, armored sedans, executive security, legal teams, banking representatives, men and women who didn't rush because the world rushed around them. The reporters spun first, then Richard, then Marcus. A helicopter thudded in the distance, not landing, just circling high enough for everyone to feel it. My phone rang. I put it on speaker. A calm female voice filled the entrance plaza. "Good afternoon, Mr. Vale. The board of Atlas Meridian has assembled. On your authorization, we are releasing founder identity, controlling stake documentation, and the acquisition notice concerning Dane Capital's debt positions and Hart Biotech's emergency restructuring package." No one moved. No one even breathed right. Marcus stared at me. What the hell is this? I finally looked at him the way he'd been looking at me for months, from above. My name, I said, is Daniel Vale. A dozen screens that Marcus had set up for the press flickered behind us. His smiling engagement reel disappeared. In its place came financial headlines, live filings, and a profile image the public had never seen clearly before because I had spent years keeping it that way. Founder of Atlas Meridian identified after long secrecy. Controlling valuation exceeds $80 billion. Emergency action targets Dane Capital exposure. A reporter whispered, "No way." Another said it louder, "No way." Then all at once the place cracked open. Questions flew, cameras shoved forward. Richard staggered back like someone had hit him in the chest. Vanessa's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Chloe lowered her phone for the first time in her adult life. Marcus recovered fast. Villains like him always do. "This is some stunt," he snapped. "A manipulated filing, deepfake data. He's bluffing." One of the women from the convoy stepped forward and handed me a folder. I didn't even open it. I handed it to Marcus. "Page 12, I said. He did. His face changed. That was the moment he knew. Atlas Meridian had not only exposed his shell companies, we had bought the debt he used to control Richard. We had frozen the bridge financing he needed by noon. We had delivered evidence that he'd falsified pressure reports tied to Heart Biotech's most valuable patent program, intending to crash its price, acquire it cheap, and strip the research. The man who called me worthless had been building his empire on fraud. And now every camera in the city was pointed at him. Marcus looked up too quickly. "You planned this." "No," I said, "you did. You just thought I'd arrive unarmed." Richard grabbed my arm with shaking hands. "Daniel!" I stepped back. He let go like I'd burned him. There are moments when people meet the truth of you and instantly rewrite history in their heads. Suddenly, every insult was a misunderstanding, every cruelty was stress, every humiliation was unfortunate timing. I saw Richard doing it in real time. Vanessa found her voice first. "Why would you hide this? Why would you let us think that I was beneath you?" I asked. She couldn't answer, because there was no safe answer. Marcus threw the folder at the ground. "Even if this is real, it changes nothing. Elena still signed the merger intent. Richard still agreed. Heart Biotech is finished without me." "Wrong," said another voice. Evelyn stepped out from behind the reporters, cane clicking against stone like a judge entering court. The old woman held up a document with steadier hands than any of the men there. "As majority voting proxy holder under the family trust," she said, "I revoked Richard's authority at 9 this morning." Richard turned white. "Mother, you can't." "I just did." She looked at Marcus with pure contempt. "And as for my granddaughter, any consent obtained under threat is not consent. Shall I show the cameras the photographs of her wrist?" Elena didn't cry this time. She lifted her sleeve herself. The bruise bloomed purple under the daylight. The crowd reacted like one living thing. Marcus moved toward her. "Elena, don't." I stepped between them. Not quickly, not dramatically, just enough. It was the easiest thing in the world. For years, that man had believed power was making others smaller. He was about to learn what real power looked like. 2 plainclothes officers pushed through the press line then. They didn't sprint. Men who know someone is cornered never do. "Marcus Dane," one of them said, "we need you to come with us regarding financial fraud, coercion, and witness intimidation. The flash on Marcus's face was almost worth the years of silence. Almost. Then he turned to Elena, desperate now. "Say something. Tell them this is a misunderstanding." Elena looked at him with such cold exhaustion it felt older than either of us. "For months," she said, "you told me no one would believe me because my husband was too small to protect me." She took one slow breath. "You made one mistake. You thought being kind was the same as being weak." That line hit the crowd like thunder. Marcus lunged once. Bad choice. Security had been waiting for a reason. They folded him to the ground in front of every camera he'd invited. Public humiliation has a sound if you've never heard it. It sounds like whispers changing sides. It sounds like men stepping back from someone they praised 10 minutes earlier. It sounds like silence from people who used to laugh at you. Richard sat down hard on the stone bench as if his bones had vanished. Vanessa trembled, not from guilt, from fear. Chloe looked at me like she'd found out furniture could bleed. But I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at Elena, at the woman who had waited in a hospital alone. The woman who had tried to cut her own heart out to keep me alive. The woman I had loved badly, but loved without limit. The press kept shouting questions. "Mr. Vale, did you marry into the family undercover? Was this revenge? Did Heart Biotech know? Are you taking over the company?" I took the microphone Marcus had used to bury me. And for a second, every terrible version of this moment flashed through my mind. I could ruin them. I could name every insult. I could make Richard beg. I could let Vanessa feel what it means when a whole room decides you are suddenly beneath it. Instead, I said the only thing that mattered. I didn't come here for revenge. If I wanted revenge, I would have stayed silent. The plaza went still. I came because a company built by thousands of employees was being sold through fear. I came because a woman was being cornered into a life she didn't choose. And I came because 3 years ago, I made the mistake of believing love could survive my secrets. I turned to Richard. "You called me worthless because you thought money was the measure of a man. But the truth is, I was never poor. I was just the only person in this family who knew wealth without character is rot with a nicer watch." Richard bowed his head, maybe from shame, maybe from defeat. I didn't care enough to decide. Then I looked at Vanessa and Chloe. "You don't get to become kind now because my balance sheet surprised you." Neither of them could meet my eyes. Finally, I faced Elena. My voice nearly broke then, and that was the most honest thing in the world. "I should have told you. Not because of the money, because you deserved the truth before the people who hurt you started using my silence as a weapon." Tears filled her eyes again, but she didn't look away. "I thought if I came to you as Daniel and not as Atlas Meridian, I'd know I was loved for the right reasons," I said. "What I did instead was make you fight monsters without armor." The reporters disappeared. The family disappeared. The whole world shrank to the space between us. Elena stepped closer. "Why now?" she whispered. "Because when I found out you lost our child alone." My throat closed around the words. Something in me understood there is no fortune on earth worth arriving too late. She covered her mouth and started crying again. Not dainty tears, not movie tears, the kind that shake your ribs because they've waited too long. I wanted to hold her. I didn't. Not yet. She had earned the right to decide what happened next. Evelyn broke the silence. Richard said hoarsely, not to her, to me, "Take the company. Save it. Please." There it was. The man who told security to put me on my knees, begging. I looked at the employees gathered near the doors. Scientists, assistants, lab directors. People who had no say in the sins of powerful men, but always paid for them anyway. "I'll fund the rescue," I said, "on one condition." Richard nodded frantically. "Anything." "You resign today. Vanessa leaves the board. Chloe never steps into operations. Heart Biotech becomes an independent foundation-led company with employee protection clauses and Elena as interim CEO, if she wants it." Every face turned to Elena. She blinked. "Me?" "If you want it," I repeated. Richard looked like he might object, then remembered he no longer had the right. Elena stared at me as if she still wasn't sure whether this was real or some fever dream created by too much pain. "Why would you trust me with it?" she asked. "Because you were the only one in this family who bled for it." That did it. She broke completely then. So did I, a little. The papers were signed by sunset. Not the divorce papers, the resignations, the restructuring. The arrests triggered the rest. Marcus was gone in handcuffs. Richard disappeared into a side room with 10 years suddenly visible on his face. Vanessa never apologized. Some people would rather choke on pride than survive with dignity. Chloe tried once, in private. "I didn't know it was that bad," she said. I looked at her and answered honestly. "You knew enough." She cried. I felt nothing. Night fell over the estate that had spent 3 years teaching me how cheaply people price a man when they think he cannot change their lives. By midnight, the reporters were gone. The lights were dimmed. Workers were taking apart the flower walls meant for Elena's public sale to another man. I found her in the chapel at the back of the property. No one used it anymore except Evelyn. There was no music, no drama, just candlelight and the smell of old wood. Elena sat in the front pew with the ultrasound in both hands. I sat beside her, leaving space. For a while, neither of us spoke. Finally, she said, "I hated you." "I know." "I loved you at the exact same time." "I know." She laughed softly through tears. "That was the worst part." I nodded. "I know." She turned to me then. "If I had known who you were, I still would have married you." That hurt in a different way, because all those years, that was the answer I'd been hiding to discover. And by hiding, I had nearly destroyed the only thing I was trying to protect. "I would trade every dollar I have," I said, "to go back to that hospital." She shut her eyes. "So would I." I swallowed hard. "I can't fix that." "No, but I can spend the rest of my life never making you stand alone again." She looked at me for a long time, the kind of long that feels like judgment and mercy all at once. Then she reached into her bag and took out the divorce papers, still unsigned by me. She tore them in half, then again, and again. The sound was small, it felt enormous. "Don't make promises like rich men do," she said. "I won't." "Don't disappear for days and call it protection." "I won't." "Don't ever let me find out who my husband is from a screen." I almost smiled through the wreckage in my chest. "I won't." She finally put her hand in mine, warm, trembling, real. "No more masks, Daniel. No more masks." Months later, people kept asking what it felt like when the world discovered I was worth $80 billion. That was never the right question. The right question was what it felt like when the woman I loved decided I was worth one more chance after seeing the worst parts of me. Money didn't save me that day. Truth did. Pain did. A bruise on Elena's wrist did. An old woman with a cane did. And the child we never got to meet still does, in ways I don't have words for. As for the hearts, the empire I revealed didn't destroy them. Their own choices did. I just turned the lights on. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. They called me a worthless son-in-law, but the most dangerous thing in that room was never my money. It was the moment I stopped loving them enough to stay quiet. Tell me in the comments, if someone pushed you to the edge like that, would you walk away, or would you make sure the whole world saw the truth?